there, this is Jan with Life After 18. I am making this quick little video because I just got off the phone with my son and we were talking about unrealized capital gains and exactly what that means. And he explained to me how he understood it, and he was actually pretty good at that. But he also pointed out to me that a lot of people may not understand it. A lot of people have this misconception that unrealized capital gains only affects rich people. And when I say a lot of people, I think, well, a lot of my listeners actually, kind of young, and you're thinking, well, I'm not a homeowner, I don't own a business, it's not really going to affect me. Well, honestly, it will affect you. And I'd like to explain to you how that will affect you exactly. And I'm going to do that with some numbers, but let me see if I can first illustrate, who it will affect actually. First of all, definitely homeowners. Okay, so if you have a home, or a house, yes, it will affect you. No doubt about it. If you have a retirement account, okay, definitely affect you because, we put money into retirement accounts for the purpose of seeing it grow. And a gain that they're talking about taxing, well, actually I should say this one presidential candidate, the gain that they're talking about taxing is the growth that you see when you buy a home and the economy is really good and the home's value goes up. In your retirement account, you put money in there because you want to see it grow. So that's another type of gain. Oh, I guess we could call it a capital gain for argument's sake. All right, other things. Well, if you're not a homeowner, you're not retired, you don't have a retirement account, but maybe you're a renter. And you think, well, how can that affect me as a renter? Really? How will that affect me? Well, you are renting from a property owner, a landlord. He owns the property that you're renting. If the value of his property goes up, he has a gain in that value. And if he's going to get a 25% tax on that gain, where do you think that money is going to come from? He's going to have to raise your rent. So yeah, this is going to affect you. All right. What about a savings account? Maybe you just have a little savings account. Maybe you have a little bit of money in your retirement account already. You started saving a couple years ago, put money in there. So you have a savings account that earns interest. What does it earn? Usually, well, right now I think it might be up to 5%. Man, I really can't draw on this, can I? Anyway, but you get the idea, 5%, maybe it's 4%, whatever it is, that is also called a gain. So all of these things are gains and will probably, most likely, be hit with that 25% capital gain tax. They could be. Now, do I know for sure if they're going to get hit with that? I actually don't, because this candidate is not really specifying how she's going to do this and what she's going to collect. So we don't know. But what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to think this all the way through. I'm trying to think through all the different possibilities and make everybody aware of that. This is going to affect so many more people than what we think. All right. I'm going to show you a mathematical example of how this works. You think, oh, 25% may not be too much. Well, that's a quarter on every dollar, So let's see how it affects us if we're sitting here looking at, well, maybe we bought a $100,000 house. I know that that's kind of hard to do anymore, but I'm using $100,000 just because it's a nice, easy round number on which we can do some math. So you buy a $100,000 house, maybe in a year or two, it goes up, we'll say a year for argument's sake. It goes up to $150,000 in value, okay? You think, wow, that's pretty cool. So you actually gained $50,000 in value on that house, on that property. And that normally doesn't matter if you don't sell the house. Like my husband and I, if we paid that for our house and the value goes up, we don't care because we're not selling the house. We want to stay here forever. I had a condo once years ago. I paid $80,000 for it. Sold it in, I think, 4 years, something like that. And I sold it for $140,000. So that was a capital gain. Now, normally when you get this kind of gain on your property value and you sell it, that money will not be taxed if you roll it over into another property, as in you buy another home. So a lot of people are constantly selling and then buying up to a bigger home as their families grow. And that's a normal thing. But for those of us who don't want to sell our house, for those of us who don't want to close our savings account or pull money out of retirement, this really means nothing. This is money on paper. However, the current candidate is telling us, well, we don't care if it's on paper. We're going to go ahead and charge you a 25% capital gains tax on that. Will she do it every year? That's been implied. Don't know for sure. Like I said, we don't actually see any, detailed plans on what's going to happen here. But like I said, I want you to be aware of it. So 25% on $50,000 gain. That's a lot of money. You want to see how much money it really is? Let me show you. We're going to do some math here. So we're going to take $50,000 and we're going to multiply it by 0.25. That's your 25%. You remember how to do this math? Been a long time, right? Most of us just whip out a calculator. And you can do that. You can check my math. So we'll go ahead and do this here by hand. All right, so 5 times 0 is 0. 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 5 times 5 is 25. Okay. 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 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 2 times 5 is 10. There we go. So we got 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, 2, 12. And you think, wow, okay, what's that look like? Well, we got 2 decimal points too. Remember those carry all the way down when you're doing your math? All right. So our tax bill on this house for the first year that this is going to be implemented is $12,500. Who's got that kind of money laying around? And if the next year your house goes up in value again because the economy is doing great, you get charged on tax on that increase as well, that gain, that capital gain. Now, this is a big number. So if you have a savings account, maybe you only have, $1,000 in your savings account. How much money is that? What's 25% of $1,000? Whip out your calculator and figure that out. But that's how much you're going to have to send to the federal government. And you think, well, how are they going to keep track of this? Well, I don't know. I have property appraisers coming around my property every 3 years. My bank accounts are all online. So sure, everything's online. I'm sure the government, the federal government, the IRS, whoever is going to find a way to find that money. And what are they going to do? They just pull it out of the bank? Sure they are. But most people don't have $12,500 hanging around in their bank account every year to pay this tax bill. Where is that going to come from? How are people going to come up with this kind of money? Your landlord, I'm sure his building is worth more money than this. It's probably a $500,000 property, or maybe it's $1 million property. And his tax bill goes up $125,000 for a year. How is he going to get the money to pay that tax bill? He is probably going to have to raise your rent. Now take that number and divide it by the number of tenants in the building in 12 months. That's how much your rent is going to go up every year that he has to pay that. And if he can't make it up the first year and then he gets another tax bill the next year, well, then guess how much more your rent's going to pay up. So what's going to happen? You look down the road at this, you had a home, you had a retirement account, you're going to probably have to drain all that to pay these tax bills every year, at least for the next 4 years if this person gets elected and actually implements this. Will it be implemented? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine, but I'll tell you what, it's very important for you to vote and to try to figure this out, because if you don't, and this person does get elected and does implement this 25% unrealized capital gains tax, there are going to be a lot of people who can't pay it, who will probably get federal liens against their house, who may be forced to abandon their house or move out of their house. And then you have to think about who's going to buy all those homes that are now going into foreclosure. Scary, right? Who's going to buy them all? And then they're going to try to rent them back to you. Nobody's going to own anything anymore. It's either that or you're going to be living in your car for the rest of your life. Don't know where you're going to park your car, though, so that's a whole nother can of worms. But either way, this is the process of unrealized capital gains. This is how it works. I don't know that that's a process yet. I hope it's not. I hope we don't vote that in. Just want to let you know, again, my name is Jan. I'm with lifeafter18.com. And I like to tell people how things work so they make well-informed decisions that do not affect them legally or financially. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope this helps. Bye for now.